Good morning, everybody. I'm Kristi Noem, the United States Secretary of Homeland Security. And it's been about 7 months now since President Trump and his administration have been working to make America safe again. As you know, the Department of Homeland Security is tasked with making sure that we have a secure border, which we have overwhelmingly been successful with by President Trump's direction, at making sure we're enforcing our laws in this country, that the rule of law matters, and that it applies equally to everybody. We have had for 3 months in a row 0 illegal aliens entering the United States, which is the first time in this nation's history that we've seen that kind of security at our nation's border. Also, we've been working on getting dangerous, criminal, illegal aliens out of our country. Murderers, rapists, drug traffickers, human traffickers, going out, arresting them, and removing them from our communities so that our families can be safe again at night. Our top priorities have been these 2 items: securing our borders and arresting dangerous criminals and removing them from our cities and our towns and our states across the country from coast to coast. Since President Trump has taken office, we have arrested hundreds of thousands of these illegal criminals. I'm here today because the elected leaders in this state of Illinois are ignoring the law. In fact, they're being obstructionists when it comes to getting dangerous criminals off of their streets. They are deciding that dangerous criminals that are murderers, rapists, money launderers, have committed assault, that are trafficking children, are more important than the families that live in the communities here. That includes Governor Pritzker, Mayor Johnson, and others who have worked so hard to protect these dangerous criminals. They'd rather be a sanctuary state and continue to put those individuals above American citizens who built this country, who've raised their families here for generations, and just want to be able to walk down the street safely at night and put their kids to bed and live a peaceful life. Today I'm highlighting 4 different examples of individuals that we've recently arrested here out of this office with the good work of ICE and our HSI officers that we've taken off the streets without the help of the governor or the mayor. Our federal officers have had to do this alone without their support, and these dangerous individuals are now no longer victimizing people because of the good work that we do. Hector Bonaparte is a 42-year-old illegal Mexican alien who had previously been convicted of predatory sexual criminal assault against a victim under the age of 13. We have Jarvin Flores Santos, who's a 40-year-old Honduras individual who was arrested back in 2020 the first time for aggravated criminal sexual abuse and attempted criminal sexual abuse of a minor under the age of 13 again. And Waldemar Jabik, a Polish citizen who had been convicted in 2014 for attempted murder and then also aggravated domestic battery. He was convicted of these after he stabbed his own wife and his 19-year-old daughter. It was not the first time that police have been called to his house for domestic disturbance, but he was never held accountable until recently by these federal officers. Dongay Silas, a 33-year-old illegal alien from Micronesia, has had 3 DUI convictions, and as well as convictions of criminal mischief, of wanton endangerment, and driving without a license. These individuals would still be out on our streets today, committing crimes and attacking people and harming them and hurting our children if Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson had their way, because their choice has been routinely over and over and over again to release these criminals back on the streets. The debate over so-called sanctuary policies has real consequences. It has consequences for our law enforcement officers, but also for the families that live here and the businesses that are just trying to provide for their community. Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson are answering that question every single day of who should be our priority, who should be our responsibility, and over again, they're choosing criminals. In just the last 7 months, ICE has issued over 1,664 detainers in Chicago alone. 1,664 detainers we have lodged against violent criminals, and that is a 106% increase over what was issued during the Biden administration. Unfortunately, Chicago and its leadership has only honored 8% of those. That means every other person, when they're released from paying for the consequences of their crimes, back onto our streets without any notification to individuals or to the families that have been victimized by them. By getting those 8% at least off of the street, the brave men and women of ICE are saving American lives. Yesterday we announced that now our ICE officers are facing a 1,000% increase and assaults against them. And you read about the stories and hear what's happening from coast to coast every day in our national media and in our press. But it's in large part due to the pro-sanctuary state and cities policies and the language of elected bureaucrats and politicians that are reckless with their lives and endangering their families. Every public official should talk about and work to protect people, to keep them safe and American people's lives safe. I want you to look at the contraband that's in front of me. We have 20 kilograms of fentanyl that's in front of me on this table. That's enough to kill 10 million people. And here out of this office, this was interdicted just days ago here in Illinois. And because these federal officers have been out on the streets picking up criminals and dangerous individuals, we were able to take this 20 kilograms of fentanyl off the streets and save over 10 million lives. They're also keeping these weapons out of the hands of criminals that would use it to rob and assault and to murder individuals in these communities. Unfortunately, all of the politicians that have spoken out against their efforts, their desire appears to be that they would like to have more of this on their streets. More drugs out there for their kids and families to be victimized. More guns out there committing crimes. That is not the work that we do in ICE. The work that we do is to protect people and make sure that we remove these weapons and drugs off of our streets and hold those criminals accountable who would go forward and continue to use that to harm individuals. I just want to ask you for three things today. Number one, I want to ask you to support your law enforcement officers. Have their backs. Every single individual that's out there that is noisy and attacking them right now is having an effect that's ratcheting up the rhetoric and distorting facts and not allowing the facts to get out of what the work that they're doing every day and what we've done to help victims get some justice for the harms that were perpetuated in their lives. Those of us that appreciate the work of our law enforcement officers, the fact that we're a country that doesn't pick winners and losers. We apply the law, and if we don't like the law, we should be going to Congress to change it. But that is what these law enforcement officers do, is they continue to uphold the law and make sure it applies equally to everybody. Second thing I'd like to ask you to do is stop putting criminals first. Stop making them the number one priority. They are perpetuating harm on American citizens, and they need to be held accountable for it. And number three, I would ask that you think about the family members around you, the people you've spent your time with, the American citizens that live next door to you in your community. Start thinking about what kind of a community they want to live in, what your city should look like, what their families deserve, and put them first. Make them the priority because they're the ones who invested in this country, and keep it safe and keep it productive and keep it the best country in the world. We'll never apologize here for protecting the American people, but we're going to continue to arrest dangerous, criminal, illegal aliens. We will defend the homeland. That's what ICE is doing, and I'm so proud to be able to walk with them and to lead with them while they fulfill this mission to really keep United States blessed far into the future. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions that you may have. Yes. Mm-hmm. How many people have actually done that? What's been the return on investment for customers? Well, actually, the 20 million campaign was to send a message to people that if they were here in this country illegally, that they should go home on their own. If they wait until we arrest them and we have to remove them, they'll never get the chance to come back to the United States. So it wasn't just on the app. It was also encourage them to voluntarily go home. We know thousands and thousands of people have used the app, but we also know that hundreds of thousands of people have left on their own, not utilizing a government program to do so. I've been to, I think, 10 different Central American and South American countries and visited with their presidents, with their foreign ministers, interacted with the Department of State, and over again, I'm hearing that hundreds of thousands of their citizens are coming home voluntarily. They've seen the ads, they've seen the messages on social media that if they go home on their own, they'll get the opportunity to come back to the United States the right way. And so most of these countries as well are setting up programs to welcome their individuals home. They have housing loan programs that they're setting up. They're allowing them to have food assistance for several months. Several of the countries I've recently visited with are training individuals and workers to come home because their economy has a need for those individuals. So sending that message has been extremely helpful in making sure that people know that here we're going to enforce our laws and that there's a right way to come to this country. And you're going to be allowed to do that if you voluntarily leave.
Do you have like
We can get it for you, but each specific country has given it to us along the way. But I would say we believe over 1 million people have gone home on their own. Since we have started this administration, yes. But we've arrested hundreds of thousands that have gone through our system. Yep.
As of 27, this is isolated, 71% of current ICE
No, that's not true. Charges and convictions, over 70% of them have pending charges against them or criminal convictions. The others all have final removal orders, which means they're eligible to go back home. Nobody's getting swept up. We're running targeted enforcement operations across the country and using our case files and our information to know who is a criminal in this country that needs to be removed and who has a final removal order. Nothing's changed. Huh? What's wrong with our targeting? Well, they're not following the law if they're here illegally. There's a right way to come to this country, and so... Yes, I'm talking about criminals in these situations, absolutely. But we also have every situation where we have those that have final removal orders need to go home because their due process is over and they have their paperwork and they're ready to travel. So that has been the priority since the very beginning. Nothing has changed. And over 70% of these individuals that we have gone out and arrested and removed from the country have had those pending charges and criminal convictions against them. That has always been the goal of the president. Yes. ICE is always wearing something that identifies them, who they are, and what operation they're out on. I would say that they wear masks at times to protect their identities from dangerous situations. The leadership teams, we leave that up to them to discern what's necessary in certain situations. And with the rise in violence that we continue to see against these officers, with that 1,000% increase, it's making sure that they are safe while they do this job and that they get home to their families at night too is incredibly important. Yes, I would like to see that because they have identification, they have gone into situations, and when they have been out looking for these dangerous criminals and have been verbally identifying themselves, and if there is a mask required, it's for their safety because of the situation that they're encountering. Rebecca?
You mentioned that it's been harder to work with officials in Illinois with government functions, but you're also in mission to hire thousands more ICE officers and clean folks who are in Illinois. So how are you doing that, hiring people within the state, people that are willing to work in the state, and where are those folks going?
Yeah, the response has been overwhelming. Part of the big, beautiful bill that President Trump advocated for allocated to us the resources to hire 10,000 new ICE officers. We have had that open for less than a week, and we have over 80,000 applicants for those jobs. So they're from all over the country. Some of them are retired ICE officers that want to come back now that they're going to be allowed to do their jobs. Some retired CBP or other federal officers. And then we also have a huge amount of interest of people who just want to have their backs and work alongside them. So what we're doing then is to get them trained up as soon as possible. We'll be training them through our federal academy, but we're also going to stand up some pilot areas of where people can home, have signed up and have offers from the federal government. We may do a training right here closer to home so they're not away from their families for so long. So that's being worked out as we see where the final offers are coming from. Yeah, it'll be within weeks because we're going to give them credit for what they already know. If they're former law enforcement, they already have training and certifications that we will honor and look at. They'll still go through testing. They'll still go through drug testing and physical tests and all of that. But we want to make sure that it's an expedited where we check the box if they have the experience. Then it helps us not keep them stalled out in an academy for weeks at a time.
Senator, I just wanted
Sure.
to ask how operations, ICE operations have been impeded by sanctuary city policies? If they have, and do you feel like you're still on target to reach the amount of arrests that you would like in those sanctuary areas?
Well, the lack of information sharing is hard. I would say anybody who serves in law enforcement would say they're used to partners. They're used to being able to call up a local law enforcement officer, a sheriff, a highway patrol officer, and say, hey, do you have any information on this individual that is a murderer that's been cited in your city? That's not happening in Illinois. And when we're calling on those most dangerous individuals, when they're being released from your prisons, they're not even letting us know, not honoring our detainers. When we lodge a detainer against someone, it's when you let that person out of jail who's been paying the consequences, let us know so that we can pick them up and get them out of the country. Illinois is not partnering with us on that, which is very, very difficult when we know that those dangerous criminals are going to run free. And many times we go into situations where we don't necessarily have the law enforcement to play a backup role. There are times where we bring more individuals in, more federal officers, because we believe we need to do that for security reasons. So we have great partnerships across the country, over 800 of them, with state and local law enforcement in other states. We wish we had that here. We wish we could build those partnerships. We're going to keep plugging away, and for us, it's about getting dangerous people off the streets. So our target is to get dangerous people off the streets. Last question back there. I think us opening up the age requirement is wonderful for people to have opportunities that they've always wanted. So many people were forced to retire from law enforcement at a young age because of that arbitrary deadline, and now they'll be able to come back and serve a few more years if they'd like to, provide for their families, and then help on the mission of making America safe again. 18-year-olds can come and sign up and help us with processing and paperwork while they train and they get the experience. They can walk alongside our officers. They will all be as fully trained as any full-time officer before they're put in a situation that might require more of them. So we want everybody to be at the same level of skill set and knowledge when they're out doing an enforcement role out on the job. Anything else?
Yeah,
Yes?
I don't expect you to know the details of every specific case, so I wanted to give you a little context that calls for a broader answer on this question. About 4 months ago, I publicized the arrest of 2 men could be responsible for a mass shooting in Chicago. Your agency named them and got a lot of coverage. However, they have still not been charged in that mass shooting. So my question is whether people sent to prison in El Salvador or 2 men accused here in Chicago of a mass shooting, is it responsible for ICE to publicly accuse people of violent crimes before they've been charged?
Well, we follow cases and prosecute cases and turn them over for prosecution just like any other law enforcement agency does. So when we sweep up somebody who's committed an act of violence like that and turn it over, that is public information that is out there. And people need to know who is perpetuating these crimes, and we continue building cases then on who they're affiliated with. Is there further dangers? Our investigators are some of the best in the country that are out there making sure that not only is that person now incarcerated, but who were they affiliated with that could be another danger that we need to continue to look at. So
even if they haven't been officially charged?
I would say we follow the exact same process every federal agency does, every state agency does for law enforcement. So we have not changed our methods or how we handle cases or how we even communicate about them than we have since the very beginning, or how the Biden administration did, or the Obama administration. We do it exactly the same. What I wish is you guys would talk about the victims more. How many people were shot in that mass shooting? How many people were victimized? How are their families doing? You all spend so much time talking about the poor justice for these criminals that are harming individuals every single day, and you don't even think twice to go talk to a mom who's now lived for a year and a half without her daughter. Go talk to somebody and see how they're doing, trying to get their kids to school, not sure if they're safe. So I would encourage you to remember that there's always victims in these situations, and many times you're focusing on the one who made them a victim. Thank you. You guys have a good day.
All right, as you see there, just listening into some of those remarks there from DHS Secretary Noem as she was making those remarks in Chicago, talking